What was the most fricked up thing your ex did after you broke up? I had a buddy whose ex, upon breaking up, raced him back to his own house, got there first, and then proceeded to lock herself in his room for several days. I don't even think she talked much while there. She would just sneak out at nighttime to use the bathroom. Buddy's kind-hearted Christian parents fed her by sliding flat foods like bologna and pancakes under the door. This story is the funniest crap with the bologna and pancakes. My ex, when I was 20, went to my parents and told them everything we did in bed. My dad later pointed out we have some of the same tastes when it comes to sex. Then it just got awkward. I'm glad I have a chill family though. Oh god. I once broke up with a girl over the phone. At that time she was in Mexico City working, and me in Michigan. She was living in Cali originally. She immediately caught the very next flight to MI and said, "You're not breaking up with me." At one point she hit me with a stick. We only had a few dates. 10/10 for being hit with a stick. I was in the process of a divorce. Not yet finalized. I was divorcing because of ex's cheating. There is this somewhat vague, unclear rule that if I were to have sex with her during this time it could constitute as a reconciliation. In any case, ex is still living in the apartment with me. I get home from work and she starts to seduce me. To me this seems pretty weird as she hasn't wanted to do anything sexual with me for months. I know I shouldn't do this, but she stripped down to nothing and gets really physical. Basically she strips down and starts trying to push me into the bedroom and pull my clothes off. I think for a minute contemplating what I should do. Fortunately, I decide to walk out of the apartment. When I opened the door one of her friends was standing right there with a camera. The plan was to get me in the bedroom and then have this friend film us, without my knowledge, so that she could say we reconciled, using video evidence, and could possibly then be entitled to alimony. That friend is such a freaking scumbag. My ex reopened several credit cards that we had jointly but had paid off and closed before divorce. Somehow she opened them back in my name and charged them to the max, then moved out of state and stopped paying her car payment. All of these things ended up getting reported to my credit years later and pretty much ruined any chance I have at decent credit for the next 7-10 years in the US. I've been divorced and lived outside the US for 8 years now and only recently found out about all these charges. I know all this can be corrected eventually, but the hassle of explaining things to several credit companies and collection agencies is a major pitter. This is fraud. You can have her prosecuted. It'll take some time investment to prove it, but if you want it cleared up without paying the debts, it is possible. Not exactly an ex, because we only went on 3 dates. After the 3rd date, I left to go back to London as an au pair. The guy had his sister send me a traditional African wedding dress to my host family, and a letter stating that she was so happy for us and hoped I would visit her in Mali. I note the FCK out. He then had his friends and brother call me and berate me for breaking up with him. Had them say I could not possibly do that because his parents had already bought the plane tickets to come see me before the wedding, and then tried to stick me with the costs for said tickets. I changed my cell phone number and had the host family say that I had gone back home and they had no forwarding address. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that was the most fricked up thing. 9 years together. 2 married. One day she tells me she doesn't love me anymore. A week later I find out she's seeing another guy. Couple of weeks later it had all fallen apart and she moved out. To go from a position when a part of everything you do is for them, for the both of you to have the best life together you can, sharing everything with each other, to absolute silence. Didn't want to talk to me, see me or have me contact any of her family. It was like she died there and then. I later found out she had got pregnant with someone else in less than a year after walking out. Sorry, it's not a very exciting story, but to me it was more fricked up being able to do that to someone than any revenge story. I think this is the best answer. I was in a 13-year relationship and she just turned off a switch and that was it. She didn't love me anymore. Heart-wrenching. I found it more hilarious than fricked up, but mine sent me a happy Mother's Day card because she said I was the biggest mother in the world. That's actually a good one. Went to all our mutual friends and told them that I cheated on him and he dumped me for it. Tried to tell my best friend the same thing. pretty much tried his hardest to turn everyone against me. All I did was show them the screenshots of his text messages with another girl which were filled with dong pics and plans on meeting up. Sounds familiar, but on the flip side, only they believed it all and I lost a lot of good friends for years. Ex-wife moved out while I was at basic, took all the spoons in the kitchen, serving spoons, teaspoons, soup spoons, even measuring spoons, left all knives and forks. Honestly, who does that? My so's ex, for your information, she threw herself down a flight of stairs and called the cops to say he beat her up. She would hit herself and call the cops almost weekly, so my so installed a GPS tracker on his car to try and prove his whereabouts during the times she was accusing him of the abuse. The absolute worst though was probably when she told him he could come over Christmas morning to see their then 2-year-old daughter open her gifts, only to call the police and have him arrested in front of their daughter. Eventually she was recorded admitting she was making it all up and the charges were dropped. It's over 5 years later and she did everyone a favor and took off, abandoning her children who are definitely better off without that kind of crazy as a mother. For wasting everyone's time, there should be freaking charges against people like that. We agreed that she'd collect her stuff from our place when we broke, without me being there. I arrived later that evening to find 2 gas valves opened, so I guess I'm lucky I didn't light a cigarette. Holy crap, that's some straight up attempted murder stuff right there. I hope you called the cops. Called the police on my friend who had arrived to collect my belongings from the house we shared. She had been calling me for a week to come collect my gear, and I wasn't in town, so asked my friend to do it. The friend in question was the guy who introduced us. Told an army recruiter that I wanted to join, and got him to come to my house to meet me. Ended up joining. Best 6 years of my life. Thanks B. Stole my laptop and started putting pictures of herself naked as a young girl, like 13 or so, and called the cops. I had already reported it stolen, though, and it's a pretty trivial process to show when a picture is added to a computer. That and the fact that she admitted that she took it from my home got me off the hook. She had naked pics of her younger self stored away for just the right moment. I had an ex show up at my parents' house. I was 19 and living with them. Demand we work things out. I asked her to leave and she refused. I grabbed my then 11-year-old brother, put him in my car and tried to leave. She blocked the driveway with her body, so I had to drive in the yard. She then gets pissed that I've left and drives to my mother's place of employment to talk to her about it. After my mum told her to leave her work, she shows back up at my house and refuses to leave again. I locked up the house and she sat on the porch swing for 3 hours before my stepdad arrived home from work, tossed gas money at her and told her to get the heck off his property. She was crazy. During the breakup, I had an ex block the drive with her body too, like, pinned against the back tires so I couldn't even drive around her. She made a huge scene about how she might kill herself because she couldn't be with me. She got pregnant so quickly with the next guy that I had to do the math several times so I could sleep soundly. First he checked himself into the hospital because he was suicidal. Then he had his mother call me and leave me voicemails trying to get me to take him back. He went on all my social media accounts and liked all my pictures and posts from the past year, so I blocked him on everything. I ended up having to change my phone number because he constantly calls and texts me begging to take him back. Then when I don't reply he insults me and threatens me. He sent me a box with $400 worth of gifts for my birthday. Yesterday he created a fake account on Pinterest and messaged me 25 times. He's insane. I've been there, although in a less extreme situation. It will pass, but just remember to keep your family updated and tell someone if he does something really crazy. Strength in numbers. Well, there's this. She told me of her new boyfriend on the very night my father died. Does that count? 20 years together, 15 married, gone in a flash. When I was about 15 I went out with a girl, same age, from a different school. The relationship was frick the whole time. Very toxic person. Anyway, I tried breaking it off multiple times, and I was always faced with the old well I'll just kill myself then. She used to be a cutter before we got together, so part of me thought she probably would try. Not being something I wanted on my conscience, I stayed with her for a while. After getting really fed up with the relationship, I broke it off for realsies, and she didn't take it too lightly. Told pretty much her whole school that I got her pregnant. That made its way to my school, which made its way to my family. This was crazy. We hadn't had sex at all and everyone believed her over me. She even tried playing this out for as long as possible, even going as far as giving herself a baby bump. She was absolutely insane. My god, I can't imagine willingly telling everyone I know that I'm pregnant at 15. She must have really hated you. Years ago, late 90s, found out my girlfriend that I was living with for a year was sleeping with her boss. It was the week of our Super Bowl party. We both had plenty of guests coming. Been planning it for over a month. I bought every bit of alcohol that we thought anyone would want. We were young upcoming professionals. She was just under 21, not able to buy booze. She pulled me aside and broke up with me on the Friday before that weekend. Saw it coming. She left to the beach with boss and told me to move on Super Bowl weekend. So, called my people, moved the party, took all of my furniture, everything but one TV, bed, one wine glass and one chair. No crap. That was it. No dishes. Nothing. Place was bare. Took me many hockey bags to move the booze, but we drank 4 weeks on it. I heard she had her party with everyone showing up to one bottle of wine, one glass, one chair and nothing else. Good on you. I personally would have left a dinner table set up with a candle and a small microwave meal on it, but I am a bit of a dong. She took all my shower stuff while I was at work. Curtain, rod, all that stuff, and the toilet bowl scrubber. She took all that. I came home and said okay, not letting her take more of my stuff that's actually important, so I changed the locks. Went to work that night. She calls and says she needs in the apartment to get her things. I tell her nah, not without me there. I don't want you taking my stuff. She says she'll call the cops, and I tell her to go ahead. Cops show up at my work and ask what's going on. I show them my lease with her name not on it, and they say okay, we'll have her come back tomorrow. Call us when she shows up. She comes the next day and tells me she's taking my bed. $700. I tell her no, she didn't pay for it, and I have my credit statement printed ready to show the cop. She tries arguing she's taking the bed. Cop says look, you're not taking it. If you think you deserve it, take him to court. Tries arguing with the cop then. Cop says did you not hear me right? Take him to court. Didn't hear back from her about it. You know what will really pee him off? If I take the shower curtains. Yeah, that'll do it. Tattoo a big symbol of my name on his stomach in order to try and win me back. It didn't work. I was 15 at the time. Oh. Invited herself to my house when my dog was getting put down. On the same day, when she attempted to have sex with me. I was obviously unhappy and turned her down. I came to school after the weekend. My dog was put down on Saturday, and she had told everyone that I had forced myself on her and raped her. Later on, a month or so later, she called me and told me to get back with her, or else. I told her I can't get back with her, so she said she'd kill herself if I didn't. I didn't say anything, and she downed 70 something pills of potassium. Had a friend call the ambulance. She survived, but wasn't too healthy for a little while. Oh yeah, I was 16-17 when all of this happened. 3/10, would not do again. I just ate 70 something pills of potassium. K. This one still sends a bit of pain to my heart. I dated this girl right before high school who was having a rough time for about a year or so. She cut herself, drank hydrogen peroxide in attempt to kill herself, and nearly jumped off her roof at one point. Her parents were mentally and physically abusive to her, such as dragged her by her hair and locking her in a closet for half a day. I was so worried. I called child services. They came. She confessed that she was lying. It took me a while to realize that she actually was lying. About a week after I stopped talking to her from pure hatred towards her and disgust, she messaged me on Facebook. If you can't put this behind you, it's all your fault. The B lied about her entire life to me, and then said it was my fault. Had something similar happen to me. B told me she was raped. She cried about it all the time. Like bald. So I talked to her mom about it one day and she said it was all bulls. So I confronted my GF about it and got her to admit it. Then she got mad because we couldn't still be friends. Like, what the frick, man? I was fricking 14. My first girlfriend. Totally unprepared for that crap. This is what led to a breakup, not the result of one. When I was 15. This girl tell me I got her pregnant. I go over to her house to talk and she's just tried to kill her 9-year-old brother with a chef's knife. I pulled up to the house on my bike and see her being taken out of the house in handcuffs by 2 cops. She looks at me and says was just kidding about the baby. I guess we never officially broke up, but I figured that whole situation was as good as official. If she's that crazy, she might think you're still together and had 10 years in the slammer to nurture her romantic fantasies about you. Keep track of when they're letting her out. Oh. Sent me an album of her with the guy she dumped me for and all the places I took her. I feel sorry for the guy. All of his dates with her are simply focused on her ex. My ex tried to gain sympathy from me by cutting her forehead open with a pair of nail scissors after a night out and claiming she was attacked on her way home. I know, because she left a pair of bloodied scissors on the bedside table like a complete freaking welly head. Welly head. New favorite insult. She created a profile for me on some gay dating site saying something like, "Hi, I'm 22 and looking for my first time with a man. I'm want to try everything." It had pictures of me and everything. I got a lot of emails, but it still took a while to figure out where they were coming from. Worst thing is that I couldn't get it taken down. I had to abandon that email address. My friend's ex-girlfriend broke up with him, then logged onto his UCAS account and declined all 5 of his university offers, so he had to wait another year to attend university and do it all again. That seems like something that can be A, and ungiven some phone calls, and B, something that can be sued over. First off, this guy broke up with me because he wanted to be straight. 2 days later, I had to drive his butt to a con in Oklahoma from Nebraska. Prior arrangement. Thought we were friends still. The first day we are there, he says he's dating a girl. He just met this girl too. 3 days later, he asked her to marry him. Can you guess what she said? Yes. The girl said yes. Talk about turbosexual. Turbosexual. This word, I'm taking it. Thank you. We were living together at the time. I received a great job offer on the West Coast. We were on the East Coast at the time. Called her to talk about it. She changed the locks, sold my stuff, wrote a nasty letter to my mother, and contacted the company to tell them why they shouldn't hire me. I took the job and moved anyway. She kept contacting the HR department. She moved to the same area about 3 months later. Every once in a while I would see her car in the office parking lot. It finally stopped when I sued her. She got pregnant by a guy with a daughter that is older than her. Then the old man moved into her parents' house with her. Funny thing is, part of the reason we broke up was she needed someone who could take care of her. I was in college at the time as well as working, and his 40-something years of life didn't leave him with enough money to rent an apartment. I'm buying a house in a few months. Wrong horse, sugar. I see she wanted a guy with a 5-year plan. He believed he was a vampire. I began seeing him as having a not terribly strong grip on reality. When we split, he told our mutual friends I was some sort of pedophile, but no one actually bothered to tell me what he was claiming I was for some months later until the damage was done. It's a strange pain to be demonized by people who won't tell you what their problem is. Spread rumors that I had STDs, except she was the first person I'd ever had sex with, which wasn't exactly a secret. Therefore she was also admitting to having STDs. She wasn't the brightest spark. Took it up the ass though. Tried to kill himself. We were together for 5 years, engaged for 3. Nothing like sitting at work on your second day when you get a phone call from the state hospital saying they have your fiancé. We had been split up for 2 months because he was crazy abusive, and also just plain crazy. I asked to be excused from work, which they were surprisingly okay with. Hopped across town to find him in the locked ward. I walked in and asked what he did, seeing as he seemed to be physically unharmed. Turns out he was caught by security trying to jump off a building. He said that if I didn't get back with him that there was no point in living. I told him that there was no chance I was marrying him, but I'd always be there as a support. I called his mother who lived interstate and demanded she come and collect him. As crazy as he was, he didn't belong in a place like that, with people who were so far gone they were more disorder than person. They would only release him into the care of someone else, and I told him it wasn't going to be me, and that was the end of it. The last time I saw him was just a few hours before his flight. He asked for just a few hours of normal, so we cooked dinner, talked about mundane crap, went to volleyball together with our friends, and then at the end of our game she stood at the doorway to collect him, and he left. I guess you could say the worst thing he did wasn't trying to emotionally manipulate me, it was giving me a taste of what could have been, allowing me to feel something right before he left my life. Make no mistake, I am far better off out of the relationship. I'm borderline unrecognizable as being the same person, but that departure ruined me for a long time. Never have one last fling. It's better to end with bitterness on your tongue than deal with months of what ifs and buts. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.